Hello everyone, it's Aeon from Low Expectation, and today let's talk about Frost Mage. Frost Mage is a straightforward specialization with a few key mechanics. The first is Shatter. Targets that are frozen have a 50% increased chance to be critically hit by you. Keep in mind, Iceland does triple damage to targets who are frozen. This will be the main bulk of your damage. However, most bosses and big elites cannot be frozen. This is where your passives come into play. Frostbolt and Frozen Orbs ticking damage have a chance to grant you Fingers of Frost. This makes your next Ice Lance act as if the target is frozen. Alongside this, you have another proc, Brain Freeze. This will empower your next flurry, making it instant cast, do extra damage, and debuff your target with Winter's Chill. Winter's Chill will make your next two spells act as if the target was frozen. So as you can see, you have plenty of ways of benefiting from Shatter even on CC immune mobs. Now that seems like a lot to take in, but for single target it's simple. Cast Frozen Orb on cooldown, use your Fingers of Frost charges on Ice Lance, and then Brain Freeze charges on your Flurry. Make sure to cast 2 Ice Lances after you've empowered your Flurry. Never cast Flurry unless it's empowered. It's a waste of time. After that, go back to spamming Frostbolt. Simple. 2 quick side notes. You can have 2 stacks of Fingers of Frost and 1 stack of Brain Freeze. However, combining them together does not give you a damage increase. It's better to spend your Fingers of Frost stacks first and then use your Brain Freeze. Now your main cooldown is Icy Veins. It's basically a giant haste buff. It's nothing special, but it's extremely powerful. Now let's move on to AoE. It's even simpler. Cast Frozen Orb into as many enemies as possible and then put a Blizzard down on top of them. Blizzard reduces the cooldown of Frozen Orb per target hit, allowing you to cast Frozen Orbs more often for that big AoE damage. In between that, spam Ice Lance procs on your priority targets. That's it. So apart from that, you have only one other passive, which is your Mastery. Every time you cast Frostbolt, an icicle will appear above your head. You can store up to 5. Whenever you cast Ice Lance, all stored icicles will be launched at the target. Now do not worry about this. If you have 5 already stored and do another Frostbolt, one of the icicles will automatically launch, meaning you don't lose any DPS. Now there is a talent that changes this up, however it's not looking like it will be used. But if you're interested in learning more in-depth rotations and builds, I suggest you check out the Wowhead Guides and Mage Discord. They change every week on beta, but these resources keep themselves up to date. Go and check them out. Next, let's talk about strengths. Frost Mages have one of the most versatile damage patterns in the game. They're able to cater to so many things. Burst AoE, I got you. Sustained AoE, I got you. Single target, no problem. Stacked cleave, no problem. Honestly, the only thing they're missing is spread cleave. But if they gave them that, I think they would be a little bit too overpowered. Another key strength is your utility. Frost Mages are able to keep packs consistently slowed, making tank kiting an absolute pleasure. Honestly, the amount of times a well-placed Frost Nova can save a tank is unreal. On top of that, you have Arcane Intellect, a 5% intellect increase to your entire raid or party. With main stats being so powerful in the Shadowlands, this is far more powerful than people give it credit for. Next is Bloodlust, or well, Time Warp for mages. Basically they're the same thing. In raids this probably won't matter as much, but in 5-man group content it's essential to taking down hard dungeon packs or bosses. Remember, Drums from Leatherworking got a massive nerf this expansion, so Time Warp and similar effects are so valuable. Oh, and don't forget mages, you can remove curses from your allies, and most healers can't actually do this anymore, so this is really helpful. Finally is your survivability and mobility. Similar to Warlocks, you have a mountains of ways to keep yourself alive. First and probably the most powerful is Ice Block. This is a complete immunity. Combo this with your ability to blink and you're the perfect person to soak those boss mechanics. Next is Ice Barrier, a 25-second cooldown shield. Honestly, this is more broken than most people give it credit for. Make sure you use this whenever you know a hard-hitting ability is coming in. And finally, a hidden passive is the Mirror Images. This is no longer a talent in the Shadowlands and instead is baseline for all mage specs. While your images are alive, you take 20% decreased damage. A lot of mages don't know about this. As powerful as Frost is, it does suffer from a few weaknesses. As mentioned before, if the targets are spread out, you lose a lot of value. Your damage is all about mobs being stacked, meaning council fights are normally a real pain. Just keep this in mind when you're making a comp. So that pretty much sums up the Frost Mage. However, in Shadowlands, you'll be able to join a covenant and each one offers you a unique mage skill. Let's have a look. If you join the Kieran, you will be given Radiant Spark. You hit the target with arcane damage and leave a damage over time effect on them. Also, your next direct damaging spell deals 10% increased damage. This effect stacks each time you strike an enemy. It ends once you've hit the target 4 times. So it's 10%, then 20, then 30, then 40, and it will fall off. And if you join the Necrolords, they will offer you Deathborn. You transform into a skeletal mage, making your frostbolts hit 2 additional targets and deal 10% increased damage. Now for Frost, this is a little bit underwhelming. However, Arcane, we might cover that in another video. And if you should join the Night Fae, they will offer you Shifting Power. You channel, dealing damage in an area around you, and while you're channeling, your mage abilities cooldowns will be reduced. This affects even your Icy Veins. And last but not least is the Venthyr. They will offer you Mirrors of Torment. This ability places a debuff on the enemy. Whenever they attack or cast a spell, they will be hit for some damage. This effect has 3 charges and the final charge hits extra hard and silences and roots the target. Now most bosses can't be silenced or roots, but it does work on some nasty mobs in dungeons, so keep an eye out for that. So that's pretty much the Frost Mage, an extremely versatile and simplistic caster able to cover almost any situation. You have great offensive and defensive cooldowns which give you plenty of options to deal with whatever is thrown your way. Don't forget to like the video and consider subscribing. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section below, and until next time guys, have a good one.